Your doctor, your local spa, even your gym may now be offering something called red light therapy. Is it worth all the hype that you see on social media? Should you strap a light to your face? Let's talk all about that hype and maybe the red light therapy itself and what it's doing or not doing for your health. Welcome to a Healthier Michigan podcast. I'm your host, Chuck Gaidica, and every other week we dive into everything from nutrition and movement, stress, sleep, and everything in between. And joining me today is Dr. Peter Graham, who's Associate Chief Medical Officer for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. Doctor, good to see you.
Thank you. Likewise. Good morning.
You know, there's a lot of information. I guess it's adformation. I see a lot of ads for devices, right? And other ways to use red light therapy. It's on the internet. It's being offered in local gyms, as I mentioned, doctors' offices even. So when it comes to beauty trends, I kind of get that this may be one of those things that's kind of a flash in the pan, but it seems to be sticking around. And I guess it's important to know what the facts are here about red light therapy. What can it do for us? And whether you're at a doctor's office or you're in a gym or you're buying some device that you just saw, creep up in your social media and you're like, oh, that'll help me. So, doctor, I guess a good place to start here would be just to answer the question, what is red light therapy?
Regrettably, I'm going to start with a little bit of high school physics, and I'll try to keep that as succinct as possible. But, red light is on the visible light spectrum. Yeah, it's a form of energy. It's what we used to see. And it depends on the wavelengths that are involved. So that spectrum of wavelengths that comprise what usually shows up as red. Lasers have been around for a long time. They've been around since the 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
The use of certain light spectra and lasers in medicine has been around since the 1960s. So that's not particularly new. But since about 2015, people began to delve into what's called photobiomodulation or red light therapy. What they find is that certain spectra of red light or certain amounts of energy stimulate cells to be a little more active, which in some contexts is a good thing, like the cells that produce collagen in our skin or produce hair and hair follicles. So that's been part of the interest in it.
So, another question that pops into my mind is going to be the source of red light. I can get a red light bulb and screw it into the coach lamp outside for the holidays. I can get LEDs. Now I'm seeing some kind of device I can wear in my head for hair. I can put it up to my face or something. Is the source of the red light critical, or is it just red light?
It's kind of both. The bulb you screw into your front porch probably isn't going to do anything because it doesn't.
So
have
don't stand
energy.
out there and go,
You can, but it's not likely to do anything for your skin.
Okay.
Just saying. It's all about how much energy is essentially behind the device and how much it can generate. So like the laser or the red light booth in your doctor's office is distinctly different from the one that you've usually got at home, or even the purchasable products usually, and you're right, there are a lot of them out there on the market, they produce a bit more wattage and a bit more energy.
Well, and then as a consumer, I'm still looking at some of these products. And to be fair, I'm asking myself, and I've never bought one, also to be fair, but I look at, I think, is it just somebody invented this gizmo that's got a bunch of red color LEDs inside it? Obviously, it's not throwing off heat. It can't be that detrimental in that sense, but is it really helping? When you're talking about energy output, am I getting a lot of energy from something that looks like a curling iron that's got LEDs in it? Is that helping do anything?
The somewhat wishy-washy answer is it can.
Wow.
But the question is how much and what you expect it to do. And there's been some decent data that for a couple of things that are important in aesthetics, like treating wrinkles or reducing wrinkles or stimulating hair growth in some contexts, some types of red light spectra with enough energy behind them really can make some meaningful difference. It's a question of how long and how much. So yeah, it really does work. There's something to it. This is not not completely without merit. And when the FDA looks at it, they're mostly looking to see, is it harmful? And the answer is pretty clearly no. So there's not, again, the things that you're able to buy commercially or off the shelf, unless you misuse them in some way, won't hurt you. So that combination of things, it does potentially, and that's the key word, have some positive effect.
So wouldn't there be another component to this with that potential, which is like diet or lifestyle change, anything, the routine use of it? If it actually does have even some small effect, if you use it 3 times and go, I'm not watching the wrinkles disappear, there's no hair growing back, then I bet you a lot of people, like an exercise device you get during the holidays for your New Year's resolution, you use it 3 times and then you're like, not so much. So there's got to be some consistency to it if it works at all, right?
That is very, very true. The best effects that are seen with red light therapy, typically modest, depend on a fairly significant investment in longitudinal time, and you can't just kind of put it on your face or put the hat on and wear it for 14 hours straight and be done. You really have to do it over an extended period of time, and you do need to stick with it. You're absolutely correct.
So it's being used. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, I think the other thing you hinted at, and relative to some other things that can affect wrinkles and things like that, it's not probably the most significant impact.
So even the machines that may be in a clinical setting or in an aesthetics, a spa setting, would that have more power than something you can buy on your own, just, online?
Yeah, the ones in a clinical setting definitely do. And, that's to make a little bit of a distinction, what you're dermatologist and actually photodynamic therapy, which is a related discipline, but a little bit different. Photodynamic therapy is about using light activated medications applied to the skin surface, or in some cases internally, things like esophageal cancers or lung cancers. Those are obviously much more powerful machines, and these are people who know what they're doing. They've had a lot of training and certification, and these machines get checked on a very regular basis. So those are much magnitude of order of magnitude different in how much power they can generate and how much effect they can have on the skin. So the things you can buy over the counter, or even in an esthetician's practice or at a spa, might be marginally a little more powerful, but nowhere near the same order of magnitude as what's available clinically.
Well, and when we use the phrase or the word healthcare, that's pretty broad in the mind of a lot of consumers. It is in mine because, there are some places that may be spas that aren't really run by a doctor. There may be a signatory that kind of runs the place, but the people that are administering everything from injectables to maybe light therapy, I'm going to gather that there's some protection for us as consumers there. I'm just making a grand assumption that they kind of know what they're doing. The machine isn't that powerful where things can go wrong. That would seem to be a pretty good assumption. Is that right?
At least in terms of red light therapy, I'd say, whatever you can do. If you're at your local health club or spa, then I would not worry about safety for that particular treatment. Again, you can order them off Amazon. They're not terribly risky things, and the manufacturer of them is designed to make them relatively harm-proof.
I don't know how much money is spent on beauty care products in America, but if red light is being used for getting rid of wrinkles and producing collagen or getting hair follicles to grow, I bet you they're selling a lot of this stuff. And so these claims that we see leads to the question, is it backed by science? Is there any, disclaimer, or is there anything that says, hey, look at this study? I don't often see that, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist,
Yeah. Well, just focus narrowly on the cosmetic claims for a second. There are some other claims about it treating everything from wound healing to athletic performance and the rest, and there really is not a lot of great reproducible data on that. At least within the cosmetic space, there are some narrow areas where it seems to be modestly effective. It can improve general appearance of wrinkles within certain parameters and again, compliance and adherence. For hair growth, I'm going to disappoint a few people. You may have noticed, obviously, I haven't seen bushels of hair growing from this treatment myself. Once hair follicles have gone dormant permanently, red light therapy won't affect that. But for certain types of conditions, and these are not insignificant events in people's lives, folks who, this tends to happen in women with pregnancy, for example, or sometimes people who've been through chemo or other kinds of medical events, what's called telogen effluvium. It's kind of rapid loss diffusely of hair. Red light therapy can be modestly helpful with that. So there's some evidence that it is potentially helpful for that. Again, it's relatively early, and if you look at the literature as I did, the constant message is keep watching. This one has some promise and not a whole lot of downside other than expense, but so far it hasn't been like, wow, yeah, we've got great rafts of data.
So in our household, it doesn't directly relate to red light therapy, but my wife was coming up from putting stuff away and hit her head on a cabinet right on the corner. One of those where you're like, dude. And she didn't realize it until one of our kids looked at her head. They're taller. My wife's already 5'10", so one of the taller guys, and said, "Hey, Mom, you're missing like a little dime-size area of hair on your head." So she saw the dermatologist, who we see yearly just because, and I know he offers red light therapy for whatever. Never offered it to us, but said, I think I believe it was a steroidal injection of some couple of them would help, with the hair, accelerate things because the hair didn't disappear. It just got bumped. And sure enough, everything is fine. So there was a case where as I was looking at speaking with you today, I thought, well, there are other therapies depending on your context. Whatever it is you're trying to fix, if you're seeing a professional, if you're seeing a doctor, well, there may be some other things they can do that literally will work. And I've just watched it here, and sure enough, that worked fine without walking around with some special helmet or something,
Yeah, precisely. And this is where if you're ever in doubt, talking to your family doc and or your dermatologist are always a good place to start, because they will have your best interest at heart and won't steer you to something that's not likely to be helpful.
So with red light therapy, I guess as we cycle back to this, your general view, should we try it? And if we say yes to that as an answer, does that mean anything goes from devices we can buy for $19.99, but wait, there's more, to, going to a spa or even the doctor's office? Should we try it?
If you're somebody who is, if you can afford it, I think that might be the first one. I wish it were $19.95. If you look at the price of some of these, and they're literally $400 or $500 for some.
Is that right? Now I haven't seen that. Wow,
they can be pretty pricey for the home-based versions of them.
Yeah.
I have not priced them out in a spa or salon setting, but it's probably different. But they're not inexpensive. So if you can afford it, if you have one of the kind of narrow spectrum of conditions or moderate wrinkles, and you're already doing the things you're supposed to be doing, moisturizing, avoiding excess sun exposure, avoiding sun exposure as much as possible, not smoking. I tell you, if you're smoking, I don't care how much red light therapy you do, you're going to wrinkle. So those kinds of things. If you've done all of those, A, B, C, D, and E, and you still are kind of looking at the margin, or you've had, like the case with your wife, some temporary hair loss, and the cosmesis bothers you, you can give it a try. It's not going to hurt anything. So again, I wouldn't worry about it, but as to who is likely to help. If you're something like me, if you think it's going to grow a full head of hair back, don't waste your time and money.
So you're saying go ahead and try it. So really, as you've discussed it here already, but just doubling back on this, side effects are minimal, if any, for the kinds of devices we could buy. You can't burn your skin. You can't burn your scalp,
Correct.
right? I mean, that's not possible with these devices.
Correct.
And then consulting your doctor. As a doctor, I assume that's a good idea. Our experience was, oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Always a good place to start. And if you're ever in doubt, that's a great and trusted source.
So any other final takeaways on this idea of red light?
Yeah, like I said, keep watching. And if you're somebody who's interested in this and thinks it has potential for you, I think time is going to be probably the best arbiter of whether this is really, really helpful or not. As the old saying goes, the second mouse gets the cheese. That might be the best analogy for this situation. So
yeah, I have a different way of thinking about it, Doc. I sometimes think that the older my wife may get and her eyes get a little fuzzier, then I'll become more handsome. I'm not sure that I have any data to back that up, but it's just, wow, you look pretty good. Yeah, it's working. Maybe it's red light, maybe not, but it's working. Yeah. It's good to see you.
Thank you, likewise.
Hey, thanks for being with us. That's Dr. Peter Graham, who's Associate Chief Medical Officer for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. We're glad you were here. Thank you for joining us on a Healthier Michigan podcast. If you like our show and you want to know more, you can go online and check us out at ahealthiermichigan.org/podcast. Please give us a rating, share the podcast, or leave any comments you like. Let us know what you think or what we should talk about next time. Subscribe and favorite us wherever you listen. We hope we gave you a tip today that'll help you keep healthier. Until next time, I'm Chuck Gaidica. Be well.